And for those of us that will be here at the track today that have got our priorities here at trackside, we'll hopefully have somebody recording it, but more importantly we'll find out when there's a replay and watch it. TV3, that's CRC Motorsport tomorrow, coverage of Cemetery Circuit, Boxing Day, Wanganui. This is our NZSBK New Zealand Superbike Road Race Championships and sidecars gridding up here on the line. Coming at you next on our program, sidecar racing courtesy of East End Liquor, open 7 days, friendly staff, great service. Come and visit and find out all your local liquor requirements handy to the shops and the motels on Tay Street, on the corner of Tay and Bamborough Streets. And oh no, not a good start there for the champion team, but of course the unlucky story of the day is the crash out in practice for the 93 of Tracy Bryan. Well, in fact, let's put that whole team into consideration. Aaron Lovell and Tracy Bryan. I see we've only printed the Tracy Bryan, but in the program. So the Shuzi NZ, Bryce Campbell Car Sales, World of Tyres, Apex Auto Services Machine, in fact, has only got the swinger on board, Tracy Bryan, in our program, but we can say Aaron Lovell, and we wish them a speedy recovery. I don't expect them to be back on the racetrack this weekend. In fact, they may be out now for the championships, a crash, but good news is they're certainly not seriously injured at all. So East End Liquor and the sidecar racing, and a poor start there for the 18 of Colin Buckley and Robbie Shorter, but Spider Staples, I wouldn't expect that to be a deterrent for too long. They should be in the front, maybe the end of lap 2.
I don't think it's. I think it's probably intentional, because this machine, when it's Tim Reeves brought it over for the Suzuki series, and it's he's 6 times world champion, and he was riding like a 2-stroke by slipping the clutch all the time, and every day he'd replace the clutch, and sometimes between races. So maybe he's just being easy on the clutch. Although in saying that, mate, he's nearly half the straight off. So maybe he was just conserving the clutch. Maybe they got issues there. We also had tyre issues last weekend with supplier tyre issues. But as I say that, he's moved up into 2nd place with a demon braking manoeuvre into the big turn off the end of the front straight. So right now it is Spike Taylor and Astrid Hartnell leading the charge, and Robbie Shorter doing the swinging for Colin Buckley there in 2nd place. They are closing up the gap. It's the old boy from Christchurch. It shouldn't be offensive calling him the old boy. He's as young as a buck in terms of health and fitness, mate. He's 72, 73 years old. Alex McDonald from Christchurch there, running around in 3rd place with Adrian Gord doing the passengering, and in 4th place there we've got number 49 from Christchurch, and that is Warwick Dimmicks and Will Climo, all the way back to the last bike on the grid, but enjoy themselves thoroughly. And that's Pete the Pirate from Auckland, Pete Goodwin, with Matt Gibbs doing the swinging there on the 111 machine, the Bay 2XS motorcycle repair service sponsored machine. And it is great to have Ian Burke from Wakatani come on board and do a lot of preparation on Pete the Pirate's machines. One of the problems he had was he's not a mechanic by trade, but he also had 2 motorbikes, and he spent a lot of time going from one bike to the other, and his reliability over the seasons has been just difficult. It's always tough to see him, break down and that, but he's had a clean run this season. The only time he slowed down was when his passenger's leathers come unzipped, and the passenger gave him a tap on the shoulder. He sort of didn't know what was going on, but he did what he had to do, had the right tap, so he slowed down there, and Matt Gibbs zipped up his leathers and they went back on. So it's great to see Ian Burke doing the mechanicking. I'm not too sure whether Ian's down here this weekend. I haven't had that much time in the pits to catch up with the boys, but certainly. We've got a question out there for the listeners online. Anyone know the lap record for sidecars? We've got a new timing people here, and they're not printing out lap records for all the classes because they're actually not too sure of what they are, and it is some years since the sidecars come down here. Even when the superbikes were coming down here for 3 rounds in the South Island, the sidecars elected several times to do 2 rounds. But right across the start-finish line, number 17, Spike Taylor on the mobility wire wrapper stealth electric bike, sponsored GSXR1000 LCR, running a standard motor, went through in the lead, and the lead was just about 0.1 of a second, but Colin Buckley and Robbie Shorter passed them just past the start-finish line and gone into turn 1. With plenty of room to spare, and now they're going to disappear off the distance, and certainly they must have set a new lap record here into the 107 mark. I can remember when I was racing sidecars, we come down here in 1991, back in the last century, and me and my rider set a new lap record by something like 7 seconds. There was 2 indications there what had happened. Oh, certainly we were quick, but it's that long since sidecars have been running down here, and that long since they'd come down here in the dry. It was 7 seconds we set a lap record by, so certainly a bit of a credit. It didn't last long. I think it was broken again the next year by ourselves, and the next year it would have been Andrew Scrivener possibly coming down here, and then big contingent of sidecars coming out here in '95. There was probably 12 Australian sidecars, and it was broken again there, I think, by the team Glenn and Neville Hazelden that had a bike that was a bit different configuration to normal sidecars. It was what we call a sitter, where the rider was actually sitting in there like a go-kart. Banned in New Zealand, but because the Australian team come over and competed here, we said, well, you can run within your Australian rules. We like your sportsmanship, we like that, but that is the same sidecar Neville Hazelden were running that set the lap record in '95 at Ruapuna that was held all the way up till about 2 or 3 years ago. So great machine. Looking out on the track too, those people that know the history of sidecars would have seen a lot of short bikes in the old days. Well, most of the days actually. This will be only the second time I've ever seen a grid full of long bikes only. The difference between the short bike is more like a motorcycle, where the rider is sitting over the bike where the engine is underneath them, and that sort of style of thing, whereas these longer bikes, the LCR machines and the Windles and that sort of thing, LCR being Lewis Christian Racing, made in Switzerland, and Windles are made in England. They actually more like a car and have the engine behind the rider, so that's they're called long bikes because it extends the whole chassis by maybe 2-3 feet. I actually have to measure one up, but maybe 2 or 3 feet, depending on what the rules sort of say. So we had at Taupo last year, the first ever time I'd seen sidecar racing in New Zealand with no short bikes. We had short bike last weekend at Ruapuna, but unfortunately none of them down here. But this is, I guess, the way of the future, and it's just how life is, you know. The short bikes are only allowed at the Isle of Man. You don't get these sort of bikes at the Isle of Man. Indeed, when Tim Reeves brought this number 18 machine out to New Zealand, he was running the letter T. His normal world championship number is 77, the 6 times world champion. He came out for the Suzuki series and brought this machine over here. He set a lap record by 3.5 seconds at Hampton Downs, and then he set a lap record by nearly 4 seconds at Manfield the week later. And about 10 days later, admittedly he didn't have a standard passenger on. A standard passenger, Mark Wilkes, had a major road accident and ended up on a motorcycle, ended up in hospital and very severely injured, but is now back in England. He's recovered well enough to be transported back to England, and they went to Whanganui, and they weren't the quickest on the in qualifying. In fact, Tim Reeves gets off there, gets his bike and does the newcomers session around the track, and one of the boys said to him, "What should we do? What would you like us to do to the bike?" He says, "Put it back on the lorry." And that's how rough Whanganui was on the LCRs. He said, "We don't race those things on the streets like that over in Europe," and that's one of the reasons to have the short and the long bikes, and the short bikes only allowed at the Isle of Man TT. They're also limited to 600cc, and that's part of the history of motorcycle racing. And just of note too, notice at the World Championship level they were the 1000cc machines, as you see out here, and they've now, I believe this year for 2016, have set the limit at 600cc, so that's a change of things for the World Championship level. I wonder whether there's a few cheap World Championship level sidecars that might be on the market and find their way out to New Zealand. It'd be good to see some more sidecars out here and teams running them. It's a very professionally presented machines out there on the track at the moment. So sidecar racing brought to you by East End Liquor. East End Liquor on the corner of Tay and Bamborough Street here in Invercargill. Now Richie coming back for a bit of a chat there.
Yes indeed, just catching up with the officials. Everybody's just complimenting how well the event is running, Spider, and on this fantastic day weather-wise, can't ask for better than that. No, it's not super hot outside, there's been a fresher air, but the breeze has been down low. The sun is out at the same time. When you catch yourself out of the breeze and in the sun, it'd be a lovely day. In fact, the thermometer on that one will be a plus 20 for my money. So well done to sunny Southland here today. As Colin Buckley, Robbie Shorter show their class ahead of Spike and Castra ahead of AJ and David. Then go to Warwick and Will, Pete the Pirate and Matt in there. And unfortunately, no Aaron and Tracy. Saw the ambulance here before, was doing the exchange, one to go away, and just hope everything is okay. Certainly all indications were that it was. I just caught the end of it. For those that know Teretonga, Castrol, which is the corner after the big loop, so effectively up the straight, goes through the big loop, which is around to the left, comes back on itself, and the next beautifully cambered right-hander is Castrol before you head towards the S's, and a sidecar just flicking out on there, but unfortunately then it dug into the soft ground and the kitty litter and then did a cartwheel before coming down, and that's why there will be a bit of trauma, I'm sure, for Aaron and Tracy as they were caught with the flying bike through the air. So wishing them a speedy recovery. So check it out, Colin, Spike and AJ. So this will be a good bonus for AJ as he will get a chance of getting in the podium for great results. East End Liquor, proud to be supporting our sidecar racing in the update for the sidecars as we go to our results that we'd had, and I'm sure I had sidecars there before, going back. Ooh, maybe we'd missed sidecars, or we'll have to.
While you're looking for that, Neil, I'll just interrupt there, and it's great to have this live chat going. We can't see it, we can't get to look at it all the time, but I was talking about the clutch on the number 18 machine and how it goes through clutches and that, and Drew's popped up, Droopy, some people know him as, has popped up with the information that this machine is dry sumped, and a normal big four-cylinder bike like this has a wet sump where the oil is, the actual clutch is spinning in oil. So in this situation, the dry clutch is on its own a lot of the time, and they don't have the same oil feeding, which is cooling and all that sort of thing going on. So that's another reason why it's so hard on clutches. But the white flag is out. The final lap for the sidecar race here. We can tell you that number 93, like Neil just said, has had a big crash there, and both the rider and passenger are sort of okay, particularly Tracy, I think. Aaron might be carrying a little bit of injury, but has been transferred off to hospital, but nothing serious. But it's just tough to see when your mates go down. It's always tough to see it, but that is unfortunately motorcycle racing, and they were putting on a good strong showing as well. So out in the front, the Colin Buckley Auckland based machine, Robbie Shorter from Tauranga, owned by Gavin Sokovic, I believe, from Tauranga as well, and sponsored by Carl Cox Motorsport and TT Kiwis, with Cliff Field putting the support behind this machine. Long-time supporter was a long-time supporter over the time was Kiwi Bike Insurance. I'm not too sure whether they're involved as well, but we're great to see the Kiwi Bike Insurance on the side of that machine. But now we've got Carl Cox Motorsport and TT Kiwis listed as sponsors. And hello, something happened here interesting, because we had a difference between first and second of 0.133 of a second. It was Colin Buckley and